and so on. And my fear is always for the private sector. You know, we don't look at them. Let's just look at this analysis. The employee of federal government and state government, I am not sure is up to 10 million. So private sector employ over 100 million. So if you are making decision for this 10 million and you are allowing 100 million to WhatsApp, is a problem. So they should give that private sector committee or people that from private sector that are there the opportunity to actually consult as well, because beyond that meeting they also have to go back to their constituency and consult further. Should we do this? What is better? I'm sure the private sector have their own consultative approach too. So I think that is the way forward. But we must come to the table not because of only civil servants, but with the generality of people under employment.
You know, you made a very vital point there, talking about, you know, the need for the private sector to be, you know, carried along. But over the years, because there's been this conversation as to, oh, you're not buying from a different market. We'll all go to the same market to buy, right? Whether you're a civil servant or you're working in the private sector. But then at the end, there seems to be an absence of proper checks and balance.
Right.
So even after negotiations, you know, the private sector, they go back to their various constituencies, just like you said, and little or nothing is, you know, affected.
Right.
How are we supposed to hold these people to account? What kind of conversations should people in the private sector be having? Well,
you know, like I said, it has ripple effect. That any decision multiplier. There are two different things. Now, if you look at the market now, a market woman is there listening, and they said no. Now it is now their salary is now 150,000 naira. You know, it's just common sense that he or she also want to take his own profit, because they actually approach the same market. You know, we think because I buy from you, they also pay school fees, they also pay transport. And looking at the Nigerian economy now, I think the need to carry along private sector is very, very key, because private sector even contribute the more. Let's look at MSME. MSME employ over 85% of Nigerians. So if you look at that sector is still struggling, you know, and you are saying that sector should come and pay 250,000 naira, and that's why I said there is need to carry this stakeholder along. Also, not because of 10 million Nigerians who are working for federal government and state government and make a decision that will affect the generality of Nigerians. And labor also, I'm sure labor also is not only labor for federal government, they're also coming from, you know, different category of labor organs, because I know they are affiliated to different labor organs. So I think for me, they should consult wide. My fear is that will match be visible. Are we going to implement that minimum wage this year? You know, that's another question for conversation.
Well, the federal government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has indeed set a lot of things for execution, you know, next month, that's March of 2024. You know, of course, last year when the president addressed in one of the nationwide broadcasts, he also said the CNG buses, you know, will be rolled out at least March this year. So the expectations are indeed high. But, you know, to wrap up the conversation, when we talk about the cost of living, what exactly would you say? I mean, let's put the aspect of, you know, the policies that the federal government, you know, had introduced, from unifying the exchange rate to removing fuel subsidy that has brought about, you know, some level of hardship. Let's talk about price control, because it looks like the price of foodstuff and other essentials, they keep skyrocketing on a daily basis. Is that the making of the government as well? If you ask me, I will recall that federal government, when they float the naira, they said now it is willing buyer and willing seller. So Nigeria market is open to willing buyer and what? Willing seller. That so now complicated. Make it more complicated, and that's why federal government needs to come in, because the statement willing buyer, willing seller is a problem. Now, if you recall, President Tinubu said he has declared state of emergency in what? In food. Yeah. The major problem Nigerians are facing now is cost of food. Very, very high. And we look at the reasons. It's what we have been managing since 10 years. Insecurity, right? You know, insecurity is a problem, so we must tackle insecurity so as to plan for a better Nigeria. So without food on people's table, it becomes a problem. And now, if you now increase salary, it does not really mean that it's going to reduce the problem in Nigeria. You must solve the major problem. Okay. Well, I'm afraid we just have to leave the conversation here now because of time, but you should take note. I mean, at the end of, this whole negotiation,
right,
and the federal government says, look, 150,000 is not even realistic for us. Of course, that will give us something to chew on and also form, new conversations on the show. We definitely will come back to you for more analysis. Much for always, being available to analyze, these economic issues. Ali Elias is a political economist. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Right, and that's it for news analysis today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Omo Ife Peace or Semere. I'll be back at the top of the hour with the news update. Good afternoon.